I had my first psychedelic experience when I was 19 years old, and there is so much that I have since learned that I wish I knew back then. I took risks then that I wouldn't take today, and there's been a lot of new skills and tools that I've been able to learn over the past 15 years. At age 35 now, I've journeyed over 100 times. Part of my job today as a men's coach and somatic therapist is to actually bring my clients through these experiences. My intention for this video is to share with you the 11 things that I wish I had known back then that would have saved me some of the risks I'd taken, that would have saved me a lot of time, but ultimately so that you can have the most powerful and transformative experience yourself. So the first thing that I wish I had known and really took on board seriously is who you sit with is key. There is a big difference between sitting with someone who really understands the lineage of psychedelic medicines and that they're holding that lineage in a powerful and beautiful way. There was a time when I had flown out to Colombia to sit with someone that wasn't really well known and really I just didn't do enough research. And that experience was really challenging. In fact, it's the only ceremony out of all of my ceremonies that I actually left halfway through. I was still able to get something from that ceremony because by that point I was already, maybe 12 years in or something. But there's a big difference when you're sitting with a team of taitas, shamans, healers who are, well-known, well-respected in their own lineage, but also have an understanding of the Western mind and the conditions that we're working with. It makes such a big difference. So the key here is really do your research, read testimonials, speak to friends, and just take your time and really feel it out. Be willing to have conversations with the team that you're going to sit with. Really feel it in your body. Do these people feel like people that you would want to come and sit and, receive medicine from? Number 2. 90% of people avoid the two most important parts of a ceremony. 90%, that's nearly everyone. Because the two most important parts of a ceremony aren't the actual ceremony itself, and we put so much of our attention and focus on whether it be the ayahuasca journey or the MDMA psilocybin journey. We put so much focus on the ceremony, but we actually forget about the preparation before and the integration afterwards. It's actually that turns the altered state of consciousness into an altered trait of behavior in our lives. And that actually allows us to then bring that forward. That's real change, that's real transformation. And just imagine, I've got a friend, one of my best friends, Jamin, he runs a company called Mountains and Marathons. And they take people up to climb Kilimanjaro. Now, you can go and climb Kilimanjaro just by yourself. You can just rock up to the bottom of the mountain and climb it. But the chances are you're not going to be able to enjoy the walk up and enjoy the view. And when you come back from it, you might be bruised and battered and you've got to spend 2 or 3 weeks, repairing from it. Versus if you prepare for it, you get yourself fit before the mountain, you can climb it and you can have conversations, you can enjoy the journey itself. And then you can come back and hopefully you don't have to get, heli lifted off the mountain itself. So, pre and post preparation for any experience, but specifically what we're talking about here is medicine experience, is key. It's vital. It can be really tempting to, allow this just to be some big experience that's going to change everything versus recognizing that this is one part of the path that can help us. But really we have to put the effort in before and also put the effort in on the other side. Point 3, expect to face what you're most resisting. So what we're most resisting is what will set us free. And conceptually, it sounds awesome. Yeah, cool, I'm gonna go drink medicine and I'm gonna face what I'm most resisting. But when we actually come up against what it is that we're resisting, often internally, it can be a very different experience. It reminds me of just my most recent trip to Colombia. And bear in mind, I've been drinking medicine since I was 19 years old. I was faced with what I was most resisting internally. And the experience took me to, firstly, an incredibly beautiful place. It was truly transformative, and that place has also stayed with me. But it also took me to a place that I did not want to feel. I did not want to experience. And as I was in that, I was pushing it away and avoiding it and averting it. And as it was doing that, it was just continuing the cycle, because what we resist persists. And the same applies to ceremony, the same applies to our lives. So this can be like a hyper-real reality that we go into, like a kind of sacred simulation where we get to work with this in a different space. It's kind of we're like Neo in the Matrix working with it in real time. but it's the fears that I was working with that I was resisting. And it wasn't until I recognized that, in fact, it wasn't until Adam, one of the helpers and friend, came up to me and he was just talking me through it. Just breathe, remember, Rick, remember what you resist persists, just accept, breathe, accept. And he's like, I promise you this will move through. And I remembered that was true. And I just started accepting it. And even though it sucked, I was like, maybe I'm going to stay here forever, for eternity. That's where my mind was going. And soon as I just started to accept it, okay, I'm going to be here for eternity of suffering. Oh, okay. And then in that very moment where I began to accept it, the suffering started to ease. And probably about 30 minutes later, which felt like a lifetime, I was circled back into what the deeper lesson of that experience was. It's been profoundly beautiful and strengthening to my actual experience now. I'm integrating that back into my life. So my point here is what you resist persists. You might hear me say this now, but when you come up against it, just remember just to trust, to allow, and to let go. That is probably some of the greatest advice you can get for sitting with any of these psychedelic medicines. Number 4, pay the price later or do the work up front. Now, we might be asking, like, why would we want to come and confront some of those parts of us? Why would we want to face what it is that we're resisting internally in our lives? Well, there's a cost to this, and it looks like we might just be able to like avoid it and overwork and push it down and avoid it, but the truth is we can't. If we don't actually deal with what's going on internally, that's going to show up as a midlife crisis, a divorce, it's going to show up as a career transition and change. There's so many different ways that this can show up in our lives. It can impact our children, our partners, our wives, our husbands. It can really begin to affect the people that are closest to us in our lives, because everything is connected, and the medicines teach us that. And where we're operating from, where our kind of basis of operation is from, where we're living from, is rippling and touching everything, whether it be social media, whether it be your work, whether it be your friends, whether it be your family. So the real opportunity here is that we can transmute and transform the suffering, the pain that's in our bodies, that's often been passed down for hundreds, thousands of years, and we can transform that here now. I'm actually here to put my hand up, and I'm willing to do the work now so that I don't have to pay those prices later. And so the people that I care about don't have to pay the price for that later. Point 5 is remembering that the sun will always rise in the morning. This is a bit of advice that I've been given, and no matter what you're facing in ceremony, whether it be really challenging or really beautiful, that the sun will rise. And that moment will come where we will come back and we'll be able to integrate, assimilate the experience. And I've shared this tip with my clients who we bring out here to Costa Rica, and they've found that to be incredibly helpful. It was said, that one thing that you said was just the sun will rise in the morning, helped see me through that really challenging moment. So just remember, this is a building of trust, a building of resiliency when we face these hard aspects of the psyche, of our shadows, of our collective shadows, that sometimes it can be challenging. But if we can just trust that we have the capacity and ability to feel and heal our way through this, that eventually the sun will rise. Point 6 is to treat the medicine as an intelligent teacher, to treat it with respect, to treat yourself with respect, to treat those you're drinking with respect, and to also remember that what you think you're coming for might be different to what you get. So often we think we're coming for one thing, and the medicine has its intelligence and it can help us solve problems that we can't see. Often that's what we're coming for. We're coming to break patterns and see and understand something that we've never yet been able to get on the other side of. Now, they also do the same in nature. So there are multiple mammals, lions included, that have been seen in studies to utilize psychedelics in their own experience, from the jaguars in the jungle to lions in the savannah. So when a lion in the savannah has been doing the same hunting pattern over and over again and isn't able to get its kill, sometimes those lions find the growing fungi, the growing psychedelic mushroom that grows from the fungus naturally from cows. So the lion ingests the mushrooms and will be laid on its back having this experience, which then supports it in breaking the patterns of its original hunting pattern so that it can go out and find a new way of looking for its kill so that it can survive. So we have a slightly different challenge that we're working with as mammals, and the psychedelics also support us in breaking our patterns so that we can see a different way The main point here is just like what you think you're coming from, be open, because the medicine might be able to see things that you can't see yourself. And if you respect it like a teacher, you'll be able to listen to its lessons. Point 7 is not to deify the medicine or the shaman, but instead to treat it with honor and respect, to see it as sacred, and also to recognize yourself as sacred as you go through this process. So don't fall into the trap of thinking that something else or someone else can save you, but instead seeing it as a tool that can guide you back to your own power and your own truth. Point 8 is that safety is the medicine. The safer that you can feel within yourself, the safer that you can feel amidst the uncertainty of the experience, the deeper that you will be able to go. So this comes back to my first point of really choosing a team, an environment that makes you feel really safe, so that you can allow yourself to go deeper. Which takes us back to point 2 as well, which is doing the pre-preparation, learning how to regulate your nervous system from states of dysregulation back into connection and safety. From that space, it allows you to go even deeper because you have the skills to create that sense of safety and trust within yourself. So point 9 is equipping yourself for the experience. So we've talked about preparing. So preparing would be getting yourself fit, going for a run, if you're climbing a mountain. Equipping yourself would be getting the right boots, getting the right map, getting the right bag. It's the same in a psychedelic journey, that the equipment here is learning how to regulate your nervous system, learning how to calm your mind to meditate, learning different somatic tools, learning how to work with your attachment system and your attentional system, learning how to really be with your experience. This massively supports you as you go into the experience, as well as supporting you when you come out on the other side so that you can fully integrate everything that you're learning. So point 10, what is hurt in relationship is healed in relationship. So the medicine, the psychedelic, is just one part of it. And for me, so much of what I actually learned was from the people inside of those environments. So it's one thing to take psychedelics by yourself at home with a meditation track from YouTube in the background, to actually coming out to a retreat center with professionals who are skilled in what it is that they're doing, because so much of what I received, so much was actually from the connections, the relationships, seeing new ways of being and relating, that when my consciousness was open, I was able to receive that and almost download it like a program. And then I was able to take that out into my life. So remember, what's hurt in relationship is also healed in relationship. And that's one of the things I love specifically about ayahuasca, is that these things are drank together. I begun to see that it's not just my pain and trauma and suffering that I've been dealing with, but this is something that we're all working with. And just that insight alone can be incredibly liberating. Point 11, remember that the experience is yours. So you're going to hear things on podcasts, on YouTube, about different people's experiences. Now, these experiences are working with our unconscious, working with our own nervous systems, working what we've uniquely been through. So it's going to deliver it in a way that only you can understand. So really just trust in that. Don't expect it to be a certain way. Just trust in your process, trust in the process, and just allow it to unfold. And from my own experience, it has completely changed multiple aspects of my life, especially when done with proper pre and post integration. I can't stress that one enough. It's really created such a dramatic shift in how I operate, and the level of freedom of expression, the freedom of connection that I'm able to tap into today wasn't something that I'm not sure I would have got here without the medicines, or maybe it would have taken me a little bit longer. So they've been incredibly useful in my life. I hope there's been 1 or 2 golden nuggets in this video for you. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Have any of these lessons occurred for you in your experience, or is there anything that you would like to add to our collective conversation? Please put that below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you.